Hello out there. We're on the air. We are on the air. It is Monday morning. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say today. Things are a little bit wild in this house this morning. But we're here. Almost skipped the show. Almost felt like just a little bit too much. There's too much happened on the weekend and time change. Had a rec hockey tournament. Got home pretty late last night. Arnie was up several times during the night. And I don't know. But the nice thing about this show is that it's all voluntary, and Bitcoin's all voluntary. Everybody in the chat this morning is here because they want to be here, not because they have to be here. And same as me. So that's the nice thing about it, and that's why it's pretty easy to even on days you don't feel like doing it, we're here. So chat's buzzing this morning. Kira, good morning. Johnny, Pomp, 70K, 75K this week. Could be higher, could be lower. Letha, Crypto Heathen, Jason, rock and roll. Good morning, wonderful Bitcoiners. Bitcoin is repricing the world. Yep, it is. People are going to start looking at Bitcoin a little bit closer because the price is running up, but we're still comparing it to a completely illusionary fiat dollar. There's unlimited amounts. There's absolutely no limits on how many they can print. And so we're comparing two different things. We're comparing apples and oranges. And that's why I like the comment here. Bitcoin is repricing the world, because it is. It's going up in dollars because dollars are losing so much value every single day. And so it's only going to go up from here. That's what we're talking about today. The Bitcoin bull run has officially begun. People are starting to look at Bitcoin. Kira's been awake looking at the charts all night. I definitely was not. I was not doing that. I was sleeping as much as I possibly could. It was a long weekend. Late night Saturday, couple games yesterday, and took Arnie on his first road trip. So I wouldn't say it went great. I mean, it did, but I don't need to discuss the details on here. There's a couple car sick moments, we'll say, between here and there. Rick's in the house. Good morning, everyone. Smash the like. Yeah, that's a good point. As we head into this bull run, actually, this show today is actually going to be directed towards people in this chat. The people who are in Bitcoin right now. I've done a couple shows for beginner Bitcoiners, people who are just scratching the surface and just buying their first amount of Bitcoin. But today's show is actually going to be focused for the people who are here every day. And just kind of our next, because we can be excited about the price all we want. We can open our phone up every 5 minutes and look to see what Bitcoin's doing, or we can just start kind of living into where it's going to be, living in the future. I think that's kind of been the theme for a little while in Bitcoin, and especially on this show. And so this show today is going to be dedicated to everybody here this morning. Rick, good morning. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Trump likes Bitcoin. They all bend the knee eventually. Did I miss something about Trump? Or is that still his old? Holy, it's nice here today. I'll show you guys a little view what I'm looking at. It's a nice thing about the time change is that you get to kind of catch the sunrises for this show anyways, twice. Got it a month ago. Now we get to watch the sunrise. I mean, forgive me for my words this morning. A little bit rusty, but that's okay. A little bit hungover too. Okay, let's get the show started here today. It's enough screwing around. Let's start with the metrics. Morning, Daniel. Good turnout this morning for a Monday morning. I guess everybody's fired up. I've been listening to Thunderstruck all morning, so I'm ready to go. Okay, the metrics today. We skipped a couple hundred blocks, I guess, since the last time we chatted. We're in the 834s now. 834,000 Bitcoin blocks have been mined since January the 3rd, 2009. We had a couple unknowns this morning. I was looking at the miners. But anyways, 834208 is the block this morning, the block height. It was mined by Foundry USA. If you're transacting on the Bitcoin layer 1 this morning, you're paying, I'd say the average, 23 sats per VByte. If you're in a rush, that's what you're paying. If you're not in a rush, I'd probably set it around 11 or 12 sats per VByte. The time chain today, new block. Actually, we're going to skip that today. We're going to go to the old school, the spreadsheet. It works, though. I think everybody can see it anyways. That's the main thing. The price today, this was the last time I checked, $71,877 US dollars. We did breach 72,000. So another all-time high in Bitcoin land. But this is where it gets crazy, because last year at this time, on this day, March 11, 2023, the price of Bitcoin was just over $20,000. So we're almost 4x in a year, and we just crossed the all-time high. 4 years ago, this is where it gets even crazier. We're 10x from there right now. March 11, 2020, you could have purchased one Bitcoin for $7,900 US dollars. That is insane. 10x in 4 years. And we haven't even hit the bull run yet. Moscow time today, $1 US will get you 1,391 sats. And here in Canada, we're almost at $100,000 Bitcoin. Might have a party for that. Might have a little, actually not a party, but maybe a nice bottle of champagne or something to celebrate 100,000. It might happen today. Markets aren't even open yet. Moose Jaw time, $1 Canadian, 1 loonie will get you 1,030 sats. So I think as soon as we cross 100,000 here in Canada, we're actually going to be below 1,000 for the Moose Jaw time. Pretty crazy. Oh, Trump was talking about crypto on CNBC this morning. Interesting. What did he say? I didn't see it. It is another great day to be a Bitcoiner. Every day is a great day to be a Bitcoiner. I mean, it's a great day anytime you get to wake up, anytime you get to have another day in life, but especially if you're a Bitcoiner. That's the one thing. And as I said, the show today is going to be dedicated and focused towards people who have been here, because we have such an advantage right now. And I think that a lot of people don't even understand how much of an advantage we have today. By being in Bitcoin right now, there's going to be hundreds of thousands and millions of people who are going to be buying their first Bitcoin in the next couple months, probably. And if you're watching the show, I'm guessing you've been in Bitcoin for a little while, and you have a nice stack of Bitcoin built up. And it's going to be really incredible to watch what happens in these next couple of years. So a couple different things I wanted to share this morning. I wish I would have saw the Trump thing, but that's okay. One thing to note, this popped up on the time chain this morning. This is kind of cool. So on this day in 2013, 11 years ago, the blockchain forked for 24 blocks before being resolved by community participants. And I don't know if it's happened since then, but that is something interesting within Bitcoin, is that if it forks and the majority of people decide to start using that new version of Bitcoin, that's what carries forward. So 11 years ago today, the blockchain was forked and it went 24 blocks before it was resolved. And the longer it goes, because if you think about it, every time that a new block is mined, so every 10 minutes on average, that block, the new version of the Bitcoin blockchain, gets sent out to every single person running the node, right? So the further you get down, 24 blocks, I think if that happened today, we probably would have no way of changing Bitcoin back to what it was. That's just kind of my high level, untechnical version of it. But because you have to go back to everybody who got sent that version of the new blockchain, and you'd have to change that. So if it happens again, the longer it goes, the harder it will be to ever go back to what it was. So Letha in the chat says the Trump said that I do little things for fun with it. Sometimes I make money. He said he's pro Bitcoin. Interesting. He said he's pro Bitcoin, but against US dollar losing reserve status. Interesting. And the more you listen to Bitcoin, the more that you understand kind of what's going to happen with everything. I don't think that the US dollar is going to go away. I think that there'll be dozens of countries, including the BRICS currency, who are still using a fiat dollar. But the countries that survive will be the ones who are backed by Bitcoin. So we have El Salvador. We have the US. The US government itself has a ton of Bitcoin, and they've been selling it, the coins that they seized from Mount Gox, I believe, or Silk Road, one of the two. They seized a bunch of Bitcoin and they've been auctioning it off. But I'm pretty sure they also have their own stack. And there's states within the US who are mining Bitcoin, who are holding Bitcoin on their reserve. And that's only going to increase as we move forward here. So the next part here that I want to share was that Michael Saylor, I'm sure most people have heard of him in this chat. So they finalized the sale. Last week, they announced that they were going to raise another $600 million in debt. So people were going to give them money so they could buy Bitcoin, convertible notes. So it was confirmed this morning that that sale went through, and they actually did 800 million instead of 600 million. Pretty cool. It's pretty, like, that happened within a week. They sold $800 million worth of convertible notes that MicroStrategy is going to convert into Bitcoin. Also on the weekend, or I think it might have been Friday, but BlackRock officially passed MicroStrategy in terms of their Bitcoin holdings. So good and bad. I think that, you know, as things move forward here, BlackRock will just keep buying Bitcoin. And as they buy more, that's just going to keep driving the price up because there's only so much Bitcoin available. So BlackRock passed MicroStrategy for total holdings, but that's distributed within how many people within BlackRock. It'll be interesting to see how many, you know, in the next 10 years, how much Bitcoin BlackRock is able to actually accrue. This isn't something that you can just print more of or issue more of or mine more of. There's only so much available Bitcoin, and there's going to be a ton of people who are wanting to buy it. So I just wanted to share a video here this morning as well. I thought that this was really cool because one thing, and I had several conversations on the weekend. Like I said, I was playing in a rec hockey tournament. So I had several conversations with different people throughout the weekend. They were asking me about Bitcoin, and a lot of people still have absolutely no idea what it is. Like none. Just past the point of like people thinking that it's a physical coin that you hold in your hand. That's kind of where we are for the general public. And so one of the main arguments with Bitcoin is that you can't buy anything with it. That's kind of the general consensus within the average person in real life and on like LinkedIn or something. That's like people's main argument with Bitcoin is that you can't buy anything with it. And so I wanted to share this video today. This is Adam Back. He's the CEO of Blockstream, I think. He's one of the very OG Bitcoiners. A lot of people think that Adam Back could be Satoshi or could have been involved with the Satoshi. So couple things in the chat here. MicroStrategy will destroy all their model. Yeah, I think that MicroStrategy will be a one-off in terms of just how successful they've been with it. But I think over this bull run, there's going to be a few companies like that adopt Bitcoin in the same way. They just won't be able to do as much because I think that's kind of a one-off in terms of MicroStrategy. I think that companies will start adopting a similar strategy to that, but they won't be able to accrue nearly as much as MicroStrategy did. The Bitcoin supply right now is dwindling. As Kira says here, Bitcoin is almost gone in the over-the-counter desks with 900 minted a day. turning to 450 on April 20th this year. So she says, I wonder what the rate of accumulation for BlackRock and other ETFs will be in the near future. That's kind of what I'm wondering too. Like the demand right now today, I think was about what, 11,000 on average or 10,000 per day. That's the demand for it. The new Bitcoin is 900 per day. So 10x pretty much the supply versus demand. And that's today with the current people who are into Bitcoin. Retail hasn't shown up yet. They are showing up. And that was another conversation that I was having through over the weekend is I've talked to a couple people, not in my friend group or anything, but people who have reached out to me to help them with getting into Bitcoin, buying the Bitcoin, storing Bitcoin safely. And there's dozens of people who are lining up right now to buy not $100 worth of Bitcoin, not $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, but $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 worth of Bitcoin. And that's just going to ramp up. And if you think about how many people, I'm one person in the world, and that's kind of within my network. Think about how many people on this earth have the same amount of people in their networks who are going to be buying Bitcoin. So the demand today is 10x. I think in a month from now, it's going to be 20x. And then it's just going to keep going while the supply continues to shrink. So the price of Bitcoin really has nowhere else to go at this point. Pretty interesting. So let's take a look at this video quick. It's only a minute and a half, but it just goes to show kind of where we are right now in terms of people accepting Bitcoin. We still have to get to the point where businesses want to accept Bitcoin. They want to accept Bitcoin because it's holding its value, and they're aware of that. So we're going to get to that point, and then eventually we'll get to the point where people like you and I, people who go to their jobs, they want to get paid in Bitcoin. Those are kind of going to be two triggers. Wall Street's here already. A lot of capital has come into Bitcoin, but we need businesses to start accepting Bitcoin, and we need the everyday person to start wanting to earn Bitcoin. So this is an example of a city in Switzerland in Europe, and it's called Lugano. So I'm going to put this on. It's 2 minutes. Should give a shout out to Arnie right now. I thought he's going to be way worse than he is right now. Must be snoozing. Okay, so here's the video. Like I said, this is Adam back. It's pretty funny, actually. He just keeps saying the same thing, but it's very cool to see how many businesses in a city like this are accepting Bitcoin. So let's check this out.
Hi, I'm Adam back. Let's see what we can buy with Bitcoin here in Lugano. Here is opticians, where you can buy prescription glasses with Bitcoin. Here's an art gallery, where you can buy artwork with Bitcoin. And here at Spaghetti Pomodoro, you can eat pasta and pizza paying with Bitcoin. SAS Cafe also can pay with Bitcoin. Or you can have a drink here, also takes Bitcoin. So here at Cabani, you can buy meats and fish with Bitcoin as well. You can pay with Bitcoin here as well, at SH21. And here at Marco Lucchetti, you can buy artwork with Bitcoin. And here's a pharmacy where you can pay with Bitcoin. So here's a cafe where you can pay with Bitcoin, art cafe. So here at Bernasconi, you can buy fish with Bitcoin. So here's an art shop where you can buy artwork with Bitcoin. Okay, and here you can buy Guess branded fashion. And here's another pharmacy where you can pay with Bitcoin. All right, and here's a cigar shop where you can buy cigars with Bitcoin. Hi-Fi, TVs, musical equipment with Bitcoin. And this is the LAC Lugano Conference Center, and they accept Bitcoin as well.
So that was one city in Switzerland. 250 businesses in that one city are accepting Bitcoin. And it kind of looked like they all had the same sticker on their door, the "We accept Bitcoin," with a couple other, I think Tether was on there too. But the interesting thing about that to me is that I think that that's how this is going to happen. I think that there's going to be cities like Lugano, there's going to be cities like El Zonte in El Salvador, and there's a few other cities. There's Bitcoin, that might be Bitcoin Beach. There's a whole bunch of these different cities who are popping up. And it kind of takes like a group of people within that city to start educating the businesses about Bitcoin. And I think that slowly over time, it's going to be that happen one city, another city, a smaller city. And over time, it's just going to keep spreading like that. And, as Bitcoin continues to go up in value compared to holding fiat, people will start hearing more and more stories of a company who started accepting Bitcoin and how well they've done since doing that. Similar to what El Salvador is doing, how much success they've had in terms of reducing their crime, bringing in tourism, and just growing their country's wealth and setting themselves up with natural resources that they already had to mine Bitcoin. So it starts with a country, and then other countries see what's happening and they start doing the same, and it'll be the exact same thing with businesses. And I think that we're honestly in the perfect place right now for that, because for myself and for, I'm sure, most people watching in the chat this morning and watching later, if businesses would have been accepting Bitcoin a couple years ago, I don't think I would have even used them. And I think that that's a problem that they've had. But as the people who have Bitcoin now, as that Bitcoin becomes more valuable, as the purchasing power increases, we're going to be looking to spend some of our Bitcoin. And I think that all these businesses are going to start popping up at the exact right time. It seems like everything within Bitcoin, there's been a few major hiccups, obviously, in terms of FTXs, Mt. Goxes. But over time, it seems like everything has almost happened by design. The timing of it, everything just seems like this was so well thought out by the Satoshi group or person. Pomp, there are a couple good comments in the chat right now. People are not willing to spend their Bitcoin because it drives out the bad currencies. I think that that's the case right now. Most people, I mean, I spend my Bitcoin every chance I get. And I wouldn't even look at like spending Bitcoin. So an example of this is like there'll be businesses who start accepting Bitcoin in the next couple of years. And if you have Bitcoin right now, you're going to be somebody who's ready for that. So one thing you do is like, if you want to hold your spending cash, say you have like $1,000, $2,000 in spending cash, just hold that in Bitcoin. Keep it in on an exchange like ShakePay, or I think the Fold app is the one in Canada. But if you just hold a couple $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in there, and then as you need to spend it, just convert it to fiat. Because if you're holding that $2,000 in fiat instead, you're going to be missing out on the purchasing price increase in Bitcoin, especially for these next 2 years. And that's kind of why you have to know where you are in the cycle in order to plan not only for the long term, but for the short term. That's going to be more important. I think that for the most part, if you're buying Bitcoin, hopefully the plan for a lot of people is to, buy, say 95% of it. That's something that you send to a cold storage, and you don't think about that for the next 20 years at least. Right? That's kind of how most people, I think, are going to do it. But then you have the other 5% of your Bitcoin that you are going to be spending. So instead of keeping that in fiat and losing purchasing power, because everything's getting more expensive every single day, it's actually laughable how expensive things are right now. On the flip side of that, if you actually hold that spending cash in Bitcoin, something that you can easily swap back and forth between fiat, everything's going to be cheaper for you in the next couple of years. So something to consider there. What else we got here? It is very encouraging. That's why I wanted to share that. I love sharing things because for the most part, we don't see any of this stuff on like our news feed, wherever we're looking. We don't see this kind of stuff. Everybody's always just bitching about Bitcoin and how nobody No businesses accept. You can't spend your Bitcoin, they say. Jose says the opposite of Greshams Law is that good money drives out bad. This is basically when merchants say, your money is no good here. Give me the good money. Yep. That's what's going to happen. And that's what's going to happen in the payroll stuff. People aren't going to want dollars. If you're going to work every day, you're putting your life's energy into your job. People are going to say the exact same thing. Your money is no good here. Either pay me in Bitcoin or I'm going to find an employer who does. And that's kind of why I think that everybody here in this chat today, you are in a very good spot. Not only for these next 2 years, you're going to be able to, things will be cheaper for you over these next couple of years, but in the next 10 years, you're going to have so much leverage in your hands. If you manage this properly, if you do things properly and you protect that Bitcoin, you're going to have so much leverage into the future. Whether that's, an example of this would be if you're somebody who's going to work every day and you're earning fiat and you're converting that into Bitcoin as much as you possibly can. And then in 5 years or 10 years, while your employer, the guy you're working for, is still focused on the old system, you're accumulating your Bitcoin that you're going to use as leverage in the future. And then all of a sudden, one day, you decide that you're going to quit your job. You're going to start your own business. And at that time, everybody's going to want Bitcoin. And so you already have some of this Bitcoin. And you can start recruiting people. You can pay them a better wage in Bitcoin. And you're going to attract the best talent for that. So Bitcoin is going to make every single business who's not willing to adapt, they're going to make them obsolete. Bitcoin is going to make them obsolete. I truly believe that. Johnny says he joined the Orangepill app. I'm on there as well. I think that the Orangepill app is worldwide, I'm pretty sure. I thought it was just in Canada first, but I see a ton of different people on there. So that's something that you could look into right now in terms of if you're a business. Like I put King Golf on there as a business. I'm a merchant on Orangepill app, but as a what would you call it? Just an everyday person who's looking to spend some Bitcoin, you can go on there and you can find businesses who accept Bitcoin. And it's really good for like meetups, meeting different people in your area who are Bitcoiners. It's a good app. I would suggest getting that. It's only like 100,000 sats per year membership. So pretty good. Great call here. Rock and Roll says, I can't wait for the American soldiers to want Bitcoin for their services. I do believe that's going to happen. I do believe that if you look at, here's another example. If you look at kind of our government system right now, I can only speak for in Canada, but I think the US is very similar. But our government system in Canada right now is very fat. Very fat. I don't know the amount of percentage of like our total payroll for Canada would be into government workers, but they're very fat. So the government has a huge liability to hold up, not only with future healthcare, future liabilities, the future debt that we owe, but also the amount of employees that they have. And as our dollar continues to sink and our purchasing power continues to sink, people are just going to say, what's even the point? And so as that happens, our government's not going to be able to keep their employees anymore. They're going to continue to shrink because people are going to want Bitcoin. They're not going to want to earn the Canadian dollar anymore. And this isn't something that's going to happen in the next month or two, or even this cycle probably. But over time, that's exactly what's going to happen. Nobody's going to want the Canadian dollar anymore. They're going to find somebody to work for who's willing to pay them in Bitcoin. And if you're here now, you're going to be one of the people who are paying others in Bitcoin because you're going to have so much leverage in the future just by being here today. So that was kind of the point of the show today, is actually just to, first of all, pat you on the back for being here. For myself personally, it does take a lot of guts to, whether you're public or not, if you can say like, I'm done with this system, the only system that I've ever known before, I've had enough, I'm choosing to do something else, it takes a lot of guts. And we've had people screaming at us for the last 15 years saying how bad Bitcoin is. And if you're willing to kind of see through that and just plug your ears and learn your own truth, you're going to be very well positioned for the future. So it takes a lot of guts, and I think that you're going to be rewarded for that in a major way. Palm says he experienced that Greshams Law in Cambodia. Most people don't accept their own currency. They prefer the US dollar. And if you've ever been to like Mexico, Mexicans, I think for the most part, they prefer the US dollar. They see that as like something that's going to hold their power. They also like pesos because they can spend it easily. But for their longer term savings, they rely on the US dollar for that. And so they've been using the US dollar, which is a completely illusionary, printed out of nothing currency. That's what they're relying on for their holding their wealth. So that shift's going to happen between going from the US dollar to Bitcoin. And as that happens, there's going to be businesses wanting Bitcoin. There's going to be employees wanting Bitcoin. It's not something we're going to flip a switch. It's not going to be an announcement anywhere. Most people don't care if Trump backs Bitcoin or not. We've been here the whole time, even with him calling it a scam. So nobody's really relying on it. It's just over time, this happens slowly. But we're moving from that, the transition from the US dollar being like the currency to store your wealth to Bitcoin. And lots is going to happen there. And the world's going to look completely different at the end of that. So what I would say to people, and I think we'll end with this. This is kind of and I don't know how long this is going to take or anything, but this is kind of the 5 things that I had written down this morning of what we can be doing today. This isn't so much for the people who haven't bought any Bitcoin yet. This is for people who've been here for a while. So there's 5 things here. Number 1, buy. Number 2, store. Number 3, learn. Number 4, earn. And number 5 is hodl. So I'm going to walk through these kind of and just give my thoughts on what we can be doing right now. So if you're watching the show, I'm assuming you have some Bitcoin already, but you also probably feel like you don't have enough Bitcoin. And especially as the price keeps going up, you're going to feel that even more so. I've felt that plenty of times in my life, and I still feel that every day. I'm happy to see the price go up, but that means that every amount of dollars that I convert to Bitcoin, I'm actually going to get less Bitcoin in return for that. So the time to be buying is now. And I'm not going to tell you to go out and spend every single penny you have on Bitcoin. I would recommend that. But in terms of buying, get yourself set up in terms of how you want to be buying. So if you do have any sort of free cash flow right now, if you can sell a few things in your house, whatever that is, exchange that for Bitcoin. And set yourself up on at least 2 exchanges for this bull run. Because if you're somebody like myself who's going to continue buying, regardless of what the price is, you want to make sure that you have yourself set up on a few different exchanges. So number 1 is bull Bitcoin for sure for me, if you're in Canada. I would avoid Coinbase at all costs. If you're somebody who's been buying Bitcoin in Coinbase, take your Bitcoin off there and find a new exchange. So set yourself up on like your main one, like bull Bitcoin would be for me, but then get set up on at least one more exchange, because we've seen what happens when the price starts running up. These exchanges all go down for maintenance. And so whether you want to be selling it or buying it, you want to make sure that you always have a backup for that. So I don't love ShakePay, honestly, but they are probably the second most reputable exchange in Canada. Avoid Coinbase, like I said, regardless of what country you're in, I just think that Coinbase is not on our side here. So that's buy as much as you possibly can today, and do it in a lump sum. If you have money, if you have $10,000 and you're waiting to dollar cost average into this, put it into a lump sum today. Don't stretch this out because it's just going to keep going up. So that's number one, buy it. Number two is store it. Take a very good look at your current setup right now. If you're using a device like a Trezor or a Ledger or anything like that, you want to take this seriously because you have to. We had a quote on the show last week. It was from NVK. And he said, secure your Bitcoin like it's worth 10x what it is today. So even though, you might have $5,000 worth of Bitcoin and you don't really think that it's worth it to spend it on a cold card or something like that, it is. Not only is it worth your money, but it's also worth your time to learn how to do that. So you kind of you're going to have a few trade-offs here. You're either going to have to invest your time into learning how to do that, or you're going to have to invest your money into hiring somebody who's done it before to help you through that. But if you have $5,000 today and things keep going up over the next year, and all of a sudden you're sitting on $25,000 or more, you have to be ready for that. And the best time to be ready for that is today. So learn how to store that Bitcoin, because if you screw this up and Bitcoin does end up going 100x from here, you're never going to get the amount of sats that you have today. So whatever amount that you have, make sure you're protecting that with every single ounce of you. Store it properly. Number three is learn. Continue learning as much as possible. You have to invest your time into this. And not only learning by watching videos, but learning by trying different things. So I always say to people, like, spend a couple $100 and just learn how to do things. Learn how to set up a Liquid wallet. Learn how to set up a Phoenix wallet, because the more tools in your toolbox that you're going to have in the future, the much better off you're going to be. For the most part, I think that there will be a small percentage of people who invest in Bitcoin today and they don't think about it for the next 20 years. And that's fine. But not everybody's going to be like that. If you're somebody who wants to start living on a Bitcoin standard where you're earning fiat or Bitcoin and you're holding it in Bitcoin, you're going to have to know the best way to spend that, the best way to utilize that Bitcoin. And as this comment says, fees are going up so much lately. You have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for whenever you cash out your Bitcoin. I doubt that people will be selling their Bitcoin, but anytime you want to spend it, if you're going to be spending like $100 worth of Bitcoin and it's going to cost you $10 or $20 worth every time to do that, that's not the best setup. So you want to be learning as much as you possibly can right now. Skip Netflix, skip whatever it is you like watching for a while. Just learn as much as you possibly can right now. And Rock and Roll in the chat, he says, number 6, don't shitcoin, it's bad for you. Let's take that back to the buy part then, because that is something for most people here. I think everybody has a little bit of shitcoins in their wallet. So today, get rid of those. Send whatever they are to an Exodus wallet, swap it for Bitcoin, and move that Bitcoin into your cold storage. Or another idea for that is send your altcoins to your Exodus wallet, swap it for Bitcoin, and send that to your Phoenix wallet. Pay the $10,000 setup fee for your Lightning channel, set up your Phoenix wallet, and then use that money over these next couple of years. Use those proceeds from your altcoins. Hold that as your Bitcoin savings account. And that's what you can be using for purchases, because it's all on Lightning. So if you're using your Phoenix wallet, you can actually find businesses who accept Bitcoin and you can pay them in Lightning without paying any fees on that. So sell the altcoins as part of the buy, but then also learn how to do that with your Phoenix wallet. Learn how to set yourself up for when you do spend that Bitcoin, you want to pay the smallest amount of fees possible with that. So let's learn. And learn also includes like Noster. I'm well aware that I sound like a broken record on here, but I can't stress enough how important Noster is going to be. If you're a Bitcoiner and you want to learn about Bitcoin, if you want to interact with other Bitcoiners, there is no other place on the internet better than Noster. Twitter is a joke. Facebook, I don't think even knows what Bitcoin is, most people on there. LinkedIn is even more of a joke than Twitter. If you want to get serious about Bitcoin, you have to get onto Noster. Start learning on there. If you just spend a couple hours a day on Noster, just reading posts, diving into different threads on Noster, you're going to learn a ton. And you're going to meet people, like-minded people like you are. And that's how you can start building your own Bitcoin network. You're going to find people who accept Bitcoin. You're going to find people who want to spend Bitcoin. That's where everything is going to be happening over these next couple of years, is on Noster. So take the time to learn about it. Actually, last week on our Living in the Future Patreon account, we did 2 episodes on Noster. Not only just how to get set up, but how to utilize it, how to take advantage of this time in Noster. We did about probably 10 best practices in terms of what you can be doing on Noster to help grow your network quicker, because it is much different than Twitter. It's much different than Twitter. There's no algorithms. So it's a much different approach to the legacy platforms that we're used to. So if you're interested in that, if you are somebody who wants to be serious about Bitcoin, not only buying it and watching the price and checking your phone every 5 minutes, but if you actually want to get involved with Bitcoin, you have to get onto Noster. And so that is kind of going to be one of our themes in Living in the Future tier, is a real focus on Noster. So if you're interested, click the link in the description that says Living in the Future. Check out the Patreon. There's a 7-day free trial, and then it's $5 a month after that. So we're setting ourselves up on there for what's coming. And if you want to be part of that, the first 44 members are going to be in for a treat. I'll just say that. It's kind of like the founding members of the Living in the Future tier. And we have kind of something in place where not only are you going to be able to, I just think that there's going to be so much happening in that over time. In this bull run, there's going to be so much that's happening in there. And I think the sooner you can get onto that, the better, because for that reason, the first 44 people who sign up are going to be the founders, and they're going to have some rewards down the road, not only just by being in Bitcoin, but specifically to Living in the Future. Okay, little check-in with the chat here. Find a couple local Bitcoin meetups you won't regret. Bitcoiners are awesome. Orangepill app, Noster, that's where you're going to be finding Bitcoiners. It's not going to be on Twitter. Twitter is a shit show. Oh, look at this comment. Okay. Kira says, not sure if you have time in the show left, but I wrote a song I'm enthusiastic about sharing regarding Bitcoin. Okay, I'm up for it. Why not? We do things live here. Are you living? There's no, but Jose says, are you really living if you aren't zapping? There's no better feeling than sending a zap to somebody. There's not. And I've been actually, I don't know how many people are familiar with Nostr on here or not, but I've been kind of, for the last probably 6 months, I'd say, I've been doing only zaps. So on Noster, you have a couple different options. You can either zap somebody's post, or you can just, like, there's a little thing like this. It's like the like button of Noster. I haven't given out a like button in probably 6 months. Every time I see a post that I like or get any value from, I just zap it. And it kind of makes you, instead of just liking every post that you see, it kind of makes you be a little bit more selective in terms of what's actually worth a like. So pretty cool. And I love zapping people, and it's just as fun getting zaps back for your posts. 100% Johnny. Noster is Bitcoin, Twitter is XRP, or Twitter's fiat. I can't stress that enough. If you're a serious Bitcoiner, if you want to really dive into this whole world of Bitcoin and set yourself up for what's coming, you have to get onto Noster. You have to get onto Noster. And that ties into the next one, which is the earn. A great way to do that. Get onto Noster, start connecting with people. And whatever it is you do, put that onto Noster. Say, I'm a graphic designer. I build websites. I do bookkeeping. I want to work for Bitcoin. Is there anybody out there on Noster who's willing to pay me to do that? And so you could still go to your job every day, 9 to 5, you get home, instead of turning on Netflix, you do a couple hours of work for somebody on Noster and you earn Bitcoin. So you have to be setting yourself up for this to happen. You can't just join Noster and all of a sudden things are going to flow your way. You have to be preparing for it today. Holy, Arnie's being a little brat. And just every place that you can, set yourself up on a shake pay card, and every purchase you make, God, what a baby. Every purchase you make, instead of earning air miles, earn Bitcoin. You would not believe how over a couple years, how much that adds up. Start looking for different apps that pay you in Bitcoin. There's a ton of different ones out there. I have a couple videos on this channel of apps you can use to earn Bitcoin. Because even though it doesn't seem like a lot right now, whether it's 50 sats, 20 sats even, it seems like not a lot because it's like 1 cent of our fiat. But we're not thinking about what it's worth today. We're thinking about what it's worth in 10 years, 20 years. And now is the time to be doing that. Now is the time to be setting yourself up for that. And the last one here is HODL. BlackRock is coming for your Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is coming for your Bitcoin. The US government will be coming for your Bitcoin. Not to seize it, they might try that. But in the long run, they're going to be trying to buy your Bitcoin. And so the longer that we hold on to this Bitcoin, the more it's going to go up in value. So 70K is nothing. 100K is nothing. 200K is nothing for what's coming. This is going to be, when we zoom out here in 10 years from now, $60,000, the difference between 60,000 and 100,000, it's going to be a rounding error. It's going to be a joke. So don't get too excited with the movement in price, because we're not going to sell it. The longer that we hold on to Bitcoin, the more valuable it's going to be when we actually want to spend it. So don't start, like I said, don't get too horny about the price of Bitcoin right now. Just focus on getting as much as you can, keeping it safe, learning as much as you can, earning as much as you can. Find whether it's a job that pays in Bitcoin, or more likely just your services that you can earn Bitcoin for, and then hold on to it for dear life. So many things happening right now. It's been a long 4 years. Let's just say that. There were a lot of very low days in terms of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was 16,000 bucks. Not that I ever was worried about it, but it's just so much more exciting to be in the middle of a bull run right now. And so the best thing that we can do today is just prepare for what's coming, because this train hasn't even left the station yet. Even though we're up, 10x in the last 4 years, this hasn't even started yet. So this is the beginning of the bull run. You should be taking as much of your time as possible, as much as your capital as possible, and allocating it to Bitcoin today. And you're going to set yourself up so well for the future. So, like I said, if you are somebody who wants to become a better Bitcoiner, you want to learn about Noster, you want to become part of a little network within Bitcoin, and of course, if you're a business owner or an employee who wants to be earning Bitcoin, strongly consider checking out the Living in the Future Patreon tier. Like I said, 7 days free trial, $5 a month after that. I guarantee you will not regret it. If you join for a month, you pay $5, you decide that whatever you got in return, your value isn't worth it, I will send you it back double in Bitcoin. Honestly. Do as much as you can now, and that's kind of what we're building. we're getting ready for what's coming. We're building the network for what's coming. And it's pretty special. It's a pretty special time to be in Bitcoin right now. We're going to have such a huge advantage in the future and over these next couple of years. So we got through it. It's Monday. Didn't think we were going to do a show today. I had like one sip of coffee. But I really appreciate everybody being here. Even on the days I don't feel like doing it, we show up. There's people here. As long as people keep showing up to the show, I'll keep showing up every morning, I promise. So we got a very fun couple years ahead. I appreciate everybody very much for being here. And that's it. I hope you have a great Monday. And we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.